7 Truths I Learned About Forgiveness After Holding Grudges for Years. I used to think I was justified. That holding onto the pain, clutching it tight in both hands like a broken shard of glass, was the only way to make sure I'd never be hurt like that again. I wasn't angry, not really. Or so I told myself. I was just protecting something, guarding my pride, honoring the wound, standing tall in the ruins of what someone else had knocked down. But in truth, I was living inside the memory of it, replaying scenes like reruns on a loop, always ending the same, with me bleeding and them walking away. Forgiveness wasn't something I admired. It was something I pitied. It looked too much like surrender, too close to weakness. I believed strong people remembered. They didn't let it slide. They didn't offer grace to those who didn't ask. They built walls and called it wisdom. And I built mine high, stone by stone, cold and impenetrable. But something happened. Not in one lightning bolt moment, not in a perfect movie scene with swelling music. No, it happened in silence, in loneliness. In years that passed while I held that grudge so close, it started to carve itself into me. I became sharper, more defensive, smiled less, trusted fewer people. And I couldn't understand why the ache didn't go away, why I still felt tired even when the person who hurt me was long gone, living their life like nothing happened. That's the secret no one tells you. A grudge doesn't punish them. It punishes you, quietly, slowly. It seeps into your voice, your relationships, your sleep, and forgiveness. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about deciding the hurt doesn't get to control what happens next. I didn't arrive at these truths easily. I had to lose people, nights, and parts of myself to see clearly. But I did learn. And the 7 truths I'll share with you in this video, they didn't come from books or wise quotes. They came from surviving it, from living with resentment, until I finally had the courage to let it go. Not all at once, not cleanly, but honestly. So if you've been carrying something heavy for years, I'm not here to tell you to drop it today. I'm just here to show you what happens when you finally do. There's a lie we're told, and most of us believe it without even realizing. It's whispered to us through stories, movies, and the way people talk about revenge. The lie says, if you forgive, you're soft, you're letting them win. I believed that for a long time. I thought if I forgave the people who hurt me, it meant I was okay with what they did. That I was letting them off the hook. That if I didn't hold on to my anger, they'd never understand how deeply they wounded me. So I held on. I held on so tight that I started believing my anger was my strength. That it made me powerful, untouchable. But the truth? It didn't make me stronger, it made me smaller. It took me years to realize that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the opposite. It's choosing to face your pain, not run from it. It's looking your wound in the eye and saying, I won't let you define me anymore. That's not easy. That's not soft. That's brave. Anyone can hold a grudge. Anyone can walk away with bitterness dripping from their heart like old rainwater. But to stand in the wreckage someone else caused and still choose to rebuild without hate, that takes a kind of strength the world rarely recognizes. I remember the first time I felt that shift. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, almost too quiet. I just stopped reacting when their name came up. I stopped needing everyone to know how wrong they were. I stopped telling the story. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I didn't want that hurt to be the most important thing about me anymore. Forgiveness, real forgiveness, doesn't say, it was fine. It says, it broke me, but I chose to heal. It says, this pain won't rot in my chest any longer. That is mastery, not over the person who wronged you, but over the part of yourself that thought the wound was permanent. For the longest time, I thought I was protecting myself. Every time I said, I'll never forget what they did, I felt stronger, like I was putting on armor. A grudge, I believed, was proof that I had boundaries, that I respected myself, that I wouldn't be fooled again. But here's the truth. A grudge doesn't protect you. It traps you. Think about it. That person may have hurt you once, but every time you replay it, relive it, talk about it to someone new, or just stew in it quietly, you are the one hurting yourself, again and again. You're dragging the past into your present and calling it protection. It's like wearing a heavy coat in the middle of summer because someone once threw you out into the cold. That coat might have saved you then, but now it's suffocating you. I started noticing it in the little things. The way I hesitated to trust someone who reminded me of the person who betrayed me. The way my voice would change when I talked about that chapter of my life, sharper, colder. I wasn't just remembering the past. I was still living in it. Grudges grow roots. They twist around your joy, your softness, your ability to feel deeply. And worst of all, they can convince you that you're being wise when really you're just building walls so high no one can get in, even the people who want to love you. Letting go of a grudge doesn't mean you have to befriend the person who hurt you. It means you no longer let them or what they did shape how you move through the world. That's freedom. That's real safety. Because the armor you thought was protecting you, it's heavy. And it's keeping you from dancing, laughing, living. It's time to take it off. You've heard it, I've said it. Just give it time. Like time is some magical ointment you can slap on your heartbreak and let it do the work. I used to believe that. I really did. So I waited. I waited for the days to stretch into weeks, and the weeks into months. I waited to wake up and feel nothing. I waited for the memory to stop showing up in the quiet moments, at red lights, in the shower, when a song played that used to mean something. I waited, but nothing changed. And that's when it hit me. Time alone doesn't heal. What you do with that time, that's what matters. You can let time pass and still be carrying the same pain. You can go years and still feel that sting like it just happened yesterday. I know people who've held on to bitterness for decades, thinking they were just being patient, waiting for the pain to go away. It didn't. Healing requires action. It asks for your participation. You have to choose to process, to feel, to speak, to write, to cry, to forgive over and over again. For me, it started with writing letters I never sent, pouring out every raw word I couldn't say out loud. Then it moved into therapy, into honest conversations with people I trusted, into forgiving myself for all the ways I thought I should have known better. That's the part we skip too easily, self-forgiveness. Because when the dust settles, we often carry guilt for how long we let the grudge grow. For the relationships we neglected, the joy we missed, the person we became while we were hurting. Time doesn't heal. It only passes. You do the healing. You choose, moment by moment, what kind of person you want to become, someone rooted in the past, or someone reaching for something lighter. And that choice? It can start today, right now. Because it's never too late to stop waiting and start healing. This one took me the longest to understand, probably because I thought forgiveness meant reunion. That if I truly forgave someone, it meant I had to welcome them back into my life. Invite them in. Open my door and my heart and pretend nothing ever happened. I was wrong. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. One is a gift you give yourself. The other is a bridge that both people have to be willing to rebuild. And not everyone wants to rebuild. Some people will never acknowledge the damage they caused. Some will act like it never happened. Some will say, sorry, but never change. And some won't even give you that. That doesn't mean you can't. Be free, because the truth is, you don't forgive someone because they earned it. You forgive them because you deserve peace. You deserve to move forward without that weight in your chest. Without that quiet, corrosive anger poisoning your moments. There's someone in my life I chose not to let back in. I forgave them fully. I let go of the bitterness. I no longer replay what they did or imagine what I wish I had said. But I also don't call. I don't text. I don't open the door. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm healthy. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself. You can forgive someone and still say, no more access. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. It's possible to wish someone well without wishing them back. And when you release that bitterness from your heart, even towards someone you'll never see again, you don't just lighten your own soul. You change how you show up for everyone else. You become softer with those who deserve it, more present, less guarded. You stop punishing people who had nothing to do with your wounds. You don't have to reconcile. But you do have to decide whether you want peace or poison living inside. That choice is yours. And forgiveness? It's your way out. People talk about forgiveness like it's this clean break. A switch you flip. One day you're bitter, the next you're free. But it's messier than that. It's layered, complicated. And sometimes forgiveness is wrapped up in grief. Because sometimes you're not just forgiving what happened, you're mourning what didn't. I once forgave someone who never apologized, who probably never will. And even as I forgave them, I grieved the fact that we never had the conversation I hoped for. I grieved the version of our relationship that will never exist. I grieved the safety I once felt that's now gone for good. Forgiveness isn't always joyful. Sometimes it feels like a funeral. You're burying expectations, memories, parts of yourself that were wrapped up in that person or that story, and that hurts. But that pain doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing it honestly. You can cry and still forgive. You can feel heartbroken and still let go. You can be angry, sad, disillusioned, and still make the choice to release the grip that resentment has on you. In fact, grief often clears the space where forgiveness can finally breathe. When you give yourself permission to mourn, you're acknowledging the depth of what was lost. And that gives your forgiveness weight, integrity, meaning. I remember sitting on the floor one night, tears running down my face, not because of what they did this time, but because I finally admitted that I missed who I thought they were. That version of them never really existed. And I had to let that version go too. That night I didn't feel strong. I felt shattered. But the next morning, something felt different, lighter, like a corner had turned quietly inside me. That's what grief does. It softens the edges of anger, making room for something gentler to take its place. You can grieve while you forgive. You must, because healing isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. And every tear shed along the way, that's part of the letting go. The movies will tell you it happens in one moment. A big dramatic scene, you confront the person. Or maybe you write them a long letter. Or you cry and burn old photos. And then, peace. The credits roll. You've forgiven. The end. But that's not how it works in real life. Forgiveness, real, soul-deep forgiveness, isn't a single act. It's a practice, a discipline, a decision you make again and again, especially when the wound runs deep. I used to think I had forgiven someone until something triggered me out of nowhere. A smell, a song, a place, and suddenly I was right back in it. My heart racing, my fists clenching, my thoughts spiraling. And then I'd feel like a failure. I thought I forgave them. Why am I still so angry? But that's the thing. Those moments aren't signs that you haven't forgiven. They're reminders that forgiveness is alive, ongoing, and sometimes it needs to be tended to like a fire that dims in the cold wind of memory. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't do it once and expect your teeth to stay clean forever. You do it daily, consistently, because plaque builds up. And in your heart, bitterness builds up too quietly over time. You need rituals to clear it. For me, that ritual looked like journaling. Some days it was repeating a quiet prayer. I released them again today. Some days it was catching myself mid-thought and choosing a different one. Some days it was asking myself, Do I want to relive the pain or reclaim this moment? You'll have days when you feel free, and you'll have days when you want to scream. Both are part of it. The key is not giving up when it gets hard, not judging yourself when it resurfaces, not expecting forgiveness to feel easy just because you chose it once. Forgiveness is a muscle. It grows through use. And on the days when you don't feel like forgiving, those are the days that stretch you. Those are the days that count the most. You're not failing if it takes time. You're not weak if it's not clean. You're just human. And choosing forgiveness daily, even when it's messy, that's what makes it real. No one told me that forgiveness wasn't just about them. That in the end, the person I was really setting free was myself. When you carry a grudge, it doesn't just live in your thoughts. It lives in your posture, your tone, your choices. It becomes part of how you see the world. You expect betrayal. You prepare for disappointment. You stop letting people in all the way, because somewhere deep down, you believe they'll hurt you too. And after a while, you forget what life felt like before you became so guarded. But something beautiful happens when you let it go. It's not loud. It doesn't come with a round of applause. It happens slowly, like spring breaking through after a long winter. You smile more not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer dragging the past behind you. Your shoulders loosen. Your laugh returns. Your eyes soften. You realize you're becoming someone new. Or maybe you're becoming who you always were before the pain hardened your edges. That's the greatest gift forgiveness gave me. Not closure, not justice, but myself, the version of me who isn't defined by pain, the version who loves without fear, who trusts her own strength, who doesn't need to be angry to feel powerful. I remember a moment that changed everything. I was in the same room with someone who had hurt me deeply, someone I used to dream about confronting, telling them off, watching them squirm. But I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel cold or numb either. I just felt free. Like I had nothing left to prove, nothing to carry. And it felt better than any revenge I had ever imagined. Forgiveness didn't erase the past. It rewrote me. It gave me back the energy I was spending on resentment. It made room for new friendships, deeper love, better boundaries, and lighter days. It reminded me that healing is not about pretending it didn't happen. It's about choosing who you want to be, despite what happened. You may never hear the apology you deserved. You may never see the full reckoning. But if you can walk through the fire and come out on the other side more peaceful, more grounded, more whole, then that, my friend, is the miracle. That's who you become without the weight. Looking back, I wonder how many years I lost to pain that wasn't even mine to carry. How many memories I colored in bitterness. How many people I pushed away, not because they reminded me of the person who hurt me, but because I didn't know how to let someone close without fearing the same story would play out again. I thought carrying the grudge made me strong. I thought remembering every detail made me wise. I thought withholding forgiveness gave me control, but all it really gave me was exhaustion. I was tired, but I didn't know it. Tired of being guarded. Tired of rehearsing my hurt like a monologue I had memorized too well. Tired of reliving what I never got to say. Tired of dragging the chains of someone else's choices into rooms they didn't belong in anymore. Forgiveness didn't come to me in one beautiful revelation. It came in layers, in quiet decisions, in soft yeses whispered to myself before I was ready to shout them out loud. And over time, those little releases became a river. They carried away the weight I thought I needed to survive, and made space for something better. Peace. Not the kind that pretends nothing happened. The kind that knows what happened and still says, I'm choosing joy anyway. So here I am, years later, telling you something I never thought I'd say. I'm grateful, not for the pain but for what it taught me, for who I became, for the way it cracked me open so something softer could grow. If you're still carrying something, I get it, I truly do. And I won't rush you or push you or preach at you. But I will say this, you don't have to carry it forever. Maybe you've been holding it for so long you forgot what lightness feels like. Maybe you've convinced yourself it's safer this way. Maybe you don't know who you'd be without the anger, but I do. You'd be free, you'd be new. You'd be whole, and it's not too late. Not too late to forgive. Not too late to heal. Not too late to put down what's been breaking your back and open your arms to what's ahead. You've carried this weight long enough. Now it's time to come home to yourself.